I will invite each of the panelists to share 5 to 10 minute introduction of themselves, the work that they and their tribe are doing, and then one experience in nature that has been most impactful to them. After the panel introduces themselves, I will guide the discussions with a few moderator questions. But the intent of today's discussion for our panels is to share their stories around their work in conservation, reflections into their pathways into land stewardship, and the values that guide their work. We will also hear from the panelists about how they're investing in youth and the next generation of land stewards. Towards the end of the discussion, we will have about 10 minutes for some questions from the audience. And thank you again for joining us with this fireside chat. I'm going to turn first to you, Esak. Thank you.
Thank you. Bishmin Aruha kan Rakat Esak Ordoñez. Hello and good day. My name is Esak Ordoñez. I'm a member of the Amah Mutsun tribal band. I am 25, and growing up, I did not always really know about my tribal community, my tribal heritage. But after my family transitioned out of Hollister in around 2008 to Santa Cruz, I slowly transitioned from a different area into a new one, still kind of unaware of what my heritage was. Growing up, my father was somewhat in my life, somewhat not. So my mother presumed that we were Miwok because we didn't really know much about the Mutsun heritage at the time. And living in Santa Cruz, I would usually get asked, what is my ethnicity? And I would simply respond saying, oh, I'm Mexican. And they would say, oh, well, you look kind of indigenous. And I knew a little bit about that, but I really didn't know what it was. And my identity back then truly felt that natives were kind of a thing of the past, and that was kind of it for me. So it took me a few more years of that journey, transitioning through into high school, and soon after that I graduated, and I received an email from my Uncle Val with the Amah Mutsun Land Trust, and he invited me out for a summer internship to work on the landscape in an area known as Costillas Valley Cultural Preserve, which is in Ohlone State Park. And through there, I learned that we are very alive and well. I have hundreds of cousins all throughout the state, all throughout the nation, and actually some who grew up just neighborhoods away from me in Hollister. So that was a complete breakthrough in my life, a total revelation, understanding that we are a living, breathing entity. We have this relationship with the landscape, and that soon brought me onto my journey, understanding what that means and kind of how much catching up I have to do. So going back to 2018, I started working as a summer intern, and the work was tough at first. I was leaving some minimum wage jobs at the time, working as a dishwasher, car vacuumer, a movie theater concession person. And I then quickly transitioned into fuel reduction work, working with my cousin Nico right here, cutting down Douglas firs, which are native encroachers. Without the management of fire, coastal prairies can heavily and quickly become encroached by Douglas fir and other woody vegetation. So we had this beautiful vision of returning to neighboring ancestral lands in Costillas Valley with the goal of restoring that to kind of what its original state might have looked like. So kind of to paint the picture over there, it's this gorgeous coastal prairie that is home to many, many native grasses, but due to the woody encroachment, we can't really see much in the understory. It used to go from a nice, open, just rolling hills to a thick, dense forest. And the reason I mention this is because in the 2020 fires, we actually experienced some displacement from there, and just a heavy 50,000 acre fire that just ravaged through this landscape that has not seen fire for many, many years. So that was kind of what got me thinking about this landscape, kind of my position in it. A year after, in 2019, I remember kind of having this aha moment as I kind of grazed along the landscape, kind of being curious of what hills, what mountains, what valleys am I looking at. Growing up, I was in a beautiful area. I was in Hollister, but I didn't really see that natural beauty. I became very accustomed to just the grid, the system, and was very detached from that environment that our people have known for so many years. So through my journey with the Land Trust, I kind of began to build this foundation for myself, what it means to live in reciprocity with the landscape, how to give back, and what I'm learning most right now is how to educate for the future generation. Right now we're involved in our summer camp and internship planning, and it's some spectacular work that we're doing where we invite many of our tribal youth and community members out to our Mutsun homelands and neighboring territories to enthrall themselves back into the landscape, into our cultural practices, and just back into good ceremony and prayer. So that's kind of the stuff I do right now. We're also involved in some of our programmatic areas in our Native Stewardship program. So we have our Cultural Fire program, which is slowly taking off. We have some momentum going right now. We'll be receiving chainsaw training in a couple weeks, so that's very, very exciting. We have our Ocean and Coastal program, where we work with a variety of different organizations looking at our coastal watersheds and ecosystems, specifically in the Elkhorn Slough, which is kind of a key part of our Mutsun territory. And I'll get into this a bit later, but we're doing some invertebrate testing right now, which is super, super exciting. So that's just one of our two. Our other two programs is our Cultural Resources program, where we have our cultural monitors, we do site preservation, site relocation, and just some archaeological surveys and whatnot. And then we have our native plant program as well. So that's good stuff.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Mishmin Tuhis, Kanarakat, Johnathan Costillas, Tamien Taquas. Hello, good day. My name is Johnathan Costillas. I am Tamien. So currently I work as a cultural fire crew lead. I got my start working in tribal cultural resources. I started off with Yochadihi Wintu Nation. I worked as a tribal cultural monitor there for quite a few years, protecting and preserving sacred sites. I then moved over to the Habema-Topomo of Upper Lake, where I worked as a supervisor there, doing the same kind of work, but a little bit higher level, where I started to go into consultations and to speak with different, government agencies, and fighting for, sacred sites. I then, started to work for my own tribe as a tribal cultural monitor as well, and it's been a long road working for tribes. It's very enjoyable. I really appreciate being here with you guys and being able to talk and say a little bit about our people and what we've been doing. Right now we work with Henry Coast State Parks. We have a agreement with them to go out there, and we work on prescribed fire. We do vegetation monitoring, work on a lot of fuels reduction, prescribed burnings wherever we're invited to, and it's really fulfilling work. We really like Henry Coast State Park and what they've done with us. Right now I've only been doing this for about 2 years, so I really was put into this higher level position pretty soon, and we've been progressing really fast. Our plan is to be, burn bosses within the next 5 years, so we can hold our own burns at some point. We also just acquired 235 acres of ancestral land in East San Jose. We plan to use this land to bring back cultural fire to that landscape. We want to start a native vegetation garden, so we can start to feed the people, bring back that food sovereignty. We also want to start a native seed bank there. A lot of these burns that we're going to, it's just like burn the land, leave it alone, and we'll come back in a few years. But to be able to bring these native plants back, we got to, throw seeds on the ground, pre and post burns. So this seed garden is really going to help, and not just for our land, but for everywhere we work for, different tribes, different, agencies that want to bring back these native species. We'll be there and open to give seeds away. So I've been, since high school. I just got out of high school and I worked as a tribal monitor, and this is, all I've done, is just working for tribes my whole life. And I really appreciate everybody, coming and listening to us, and thank Thank you, guys.
Mishish tu in Mishish I e chududu ka inkarat violet. Good day and welcome and thank you. My name is Violet, and I just want to say thank you all for being here. This is such an incredible turnout for this. So I'm here representing kind of two things. I'm part of the Rumsen Ohlone tribal community. We are the indigenous peoples of the Monterey area. So Monterey Peninsula, Lower Carmel River Valley, Carmel, those are my homelands. I am also here representing California State Parks. I'm the Indigenous Programs Interpreter for the Monterey District. And that Monterey District goes all the way from Zumudowski State Beach in Moss Landing south to Limekiln State Park in Big Sur. So we have 18 state parks in the Monterey District that we are responsible for the care and protection of. So that includes homelands that Esak. So it includes other people's homelands as well. It's not just my homelands, but I am lucky enough to work and live in my ancestral homelands and be part of the protecting those parks. So 18 state parks in the Monterey District, that's quite a job. My role is not only to integrate sort of my own identity and my own culture in the parks that I work at, but also I do a lot of tribal engagement. And so we're tasked with working with a number of different tribes in those ancestral lands. And when I started working for state parks, one of my cousins, I got a lot of cousins too. One of my cousins said, "Oh, you infiltrated." And I was like, well, I wasn't really looking at it like that. But, to some degree, it's true. It is, at times, a challenging thing to be somebody who is of Native descent working for a state agency. There's a long history there. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But my feeling is that we need more of us. We need to not only work with agencies, but work in agencies and take some of our power back. And so that's kind of one of the things that I hope that I do with my position within state parks. And also, being a good representative of my community, because that's one thing that I think we all want to do is be good representatives of our community to let people know that we're still here, we're not extinct. And to do that, in some cases, I think we need to be part of the agencies that got us in this position in the first place, and work on acknowledging that. And so that in order to do that, one of the great things about my job is also allowed me to be more involved in my culture, because it's enabled me to live in my home, continue to live in my homeland, and represent that culture to people in real time and let people know that we're not just history, we're still here.
Hoshachuhi, Kanakraka, Joey, Yolopishli, Kana Ruta, Tamien speaking villages, Muwekma, Ohlone, Wawulam, Bay Area Tak, Ganahini, Dolores Sanchez, Julia Lopez, Geraldine Lopez. Greetings, my name is Joey, Yolopishli, Fist of Hearts. I reside in my homelands of the Muwekma Ohlone territory, so-called San Jose, Yaquamin, the east side. And I'm the descendant of Geraldine Lopez, Julia Lopez, and Dolores Sanchez. And I just want to, reflecting on the beautiful words, the relatives here, I just want to greet all you. Welcome to my homeland, and I want to acknowledge everybody in this room for the good work that you guys are all here for. You're not here to make money. You're here because you care. And everybody here in this room has an agreement, and that's what this is about. It's about continuing that agreement as a descendant and an ancestor. And it is my responsibility as a Muwekma culture bearer, as the people here that came back as flesh living resistance, to give a prayer to you and to give you all an acknowledgement with the blessing of our people, of the spirit that is in the room today, because there's ancestors in this room that walk in with us today. As we all carry those relatives, we just want to make sure that those spirits are comfortable, because what we're talking right now is spiritual. We're not talking conserving. We're talking about connecting. So this is a protection prayer that was shared from us from the north of our brothers, Zaya Martinez and Razzle Dazzle of the Nisenan Miwek, who taught us back to sing our ways, but I want to honor them and sing a song of protection. Muwekma is the rock maker. Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, ahe, oh da re, Muwekma, Muwekma, hani, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo, Muwekma, ahe, oh da re, Muwekma, Muwekma, hani, Muwekma, hani ayo, oh hani ayo, ayo, Muwekma, hani ayo.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Violet. Thank you, Johnathan and Esak. Thank you for sharing your reflections, your journey, and that very strong connection and messaging. Thank you. I'm just taking some moment to feel this right now, as I'm sure the audience is as well. You have reflected on your journey, and certainly some of the challenges that you faced as part of your work and your journey. If one of you could share, as part of your work, what was not predictable at the beginning of your journey, something that you have found over time that you did not envision when you first started your work.
I'll begin. So When I first started working full-time in 2020, I thought that I wanted to become an archaeologist, and I never believed that I would transition into fire, or that I would be doing fire, or that fire even had any role in ecology at all. So it's been quite the journey for me. Going back to 2020, I was hired by Far Western, this anthropological firm, to do some archaeological and cultural monitoring work in Pacheco Pass in one of our eastern village sites that is about 4,000 years old. And learning the archaeology from a Western lens, I thought that it was all about speed, precision, and all these things that you really don't think about when, it's just from a Western lens. So, as a native doing that work, I didn't fully have the proper background at the time. So we'd come into some areas, and I wasn't fully aware of the gravity of the nature of what I was standing on and kind of what that whole industry does, or even the background of it. So as I quickly transitioned from archaeology into fire, I kind of left behind that past. So moving into fire, that fully opened my eyes on good, healthy stewardship work and living in relations with the land, understanding that fire is a vital role. In the coastal prairies, you need fire because there's hardly any lightning out there. A lot of the archaeological evidence shows that lightning in these areas is few and far between, maybe a few strikes every few hundred years. Yet the evidence shows that fire was still prevalent on this landscape for thousands and thousands of years without the presence of lightning. And we now know that that was through indigenous peoples, not just in coastal prairies, but from almost every lick of the landscape, from here to the boreal forest in China, to the aboriginal plains of Australia. All over, we've had this relationship and this center around fire. So that is kind of one thing that's fully transformed my perception and my foundation as an individual, is that relationship and kind of that coming back to fire.
I would have to say probably being put in a position very quickly, very soon, has been, it's pretty tough at the beginning, but, as you keep doing it, you get better at it. Even something like this, being in front of people talking, is not my strongest suit, but we've been progressing really well, especially in the fire side. I've only been doing this a couple years, and just how great our relationship has been with our partners, and them, really pushing us to do better and to really take that next step in fire, and, ultimately becoming burn bosses, and, doing fire on our own and bringing that stuff back. So that was one thing I didn't think would happen.
Yeah, I have to say one of the main things is this wasn't even a position when I started with state parks. Indigenous programs interpretation wasn't even a thing. It was in my district, a position that was created while I was already with state parks. So I don't think when I started with state parks, I imagined that this would even exist, and that I could be something that reflected both parts of me. Because a lot of times I think in state work, we're told to, you represent the government. And obviously, we have a uniform, we have a very structured persona, and I didn't see that really integrating with my personal experience and my identity as an Indigenous person. I didn't see that represented in state parks, and now I do. And I see it in more places than just my district. I think we need a lot more of it. But I didn't imagine when I started with state parks, I was going to be leading guided tours in my ancestral village area. Like, how do I get paid to do this? This is incredible. And so many more of us should get paid to do something similar if that's what we want to do. Also, I am not someone, believe it or not, I hate being the center of attention. So I also don't love being in the front of the room. I would rather be in the back. So I think what was really unpredictable is how much I sort of unexpectedly found myself in a position to be a leader and to be a voice that people were listening to. I was so used to fading into the background, to feeling like I wasn't represented, to feeling like I was invisible, to not even minding being invisible, to be honest. I didn't expect to take a leadership role and to be the voice of my tribal community. That was not something that I imagined, but here I am.
Being spiritually castrated and still coming back with that memory is identifying ourselves as Native people in a hard place, knowing that cities, barrios, ghettos, fentanyl, displacement of our understanding towards our identity, toward our relationship is what a relocatee should understand is one thing first, is where you come from. You have an origin. So for us to always refine that every day, to wake up as a Native, wake up and believe and try to believe, practice one thing every day with that spiritual integrity as you practice in your home, as you practice the way you sleep, as you go to see your children, as you see your partner, as you drink water in the morning, the reflections that come in that you have to fight every day to wake up in the city to be something that it should be something that was there from the first memory of the child in the womb. The first memory of that existence, of the ancient first memory is what we all carry, is a memory of land, a memory to the fire, a memory to the agreements to the woodpecker, the flicker, rupwa, our eagle, kaknu, our red hawk, and ekmayan, our grandfather coyote. Knowing that here is Muwekma, the Ohlone people, we stem from the origin of Tushtak. They call it Mount Diablo. They put the worst name in their book so we would never go back to our sacred origin, to pray back to our sacred place where we know where we came from, where the spirits came from, on the Rumai side, the northern side of that mountain, where the sacred northern winds come when we call and invoke. And so invoking every day with a prayer, teaching the children in the hardest places of education and academics and charter and public schools, food banks. We live in the barrio, still staying here, fearing that our children don't get displaced from gentrification. So fire, it's a hard thing to talk about because we don't get burned because we're in the city. We don't have land to burn in our city. So in understanding the opportunities that we get, that everybody else has, that they get, maybe they got the education to find their opportunity and take for granted of that and do it in a good way. Finding a way to connect, but we're in the city. In the cities like Crissy Field and the Portrayal Hill, Alamany, Tenderloin, Oakland, and all these places, Richmond, the refineries, the Barrio East Side, San Jose, Story and King. Where do we find a prayer in that? That's every day to wake up, teaching the children. They have to continue to fight, continue to wake up and continue to walk this red way. And that's the hardest way to live. We shouldn't have to do that as natives, as free as a bird as they get to fly, as free as a fish as it gets to swim. Those are natural ways of life. As growing is supposed to be easy. Is what we see how life grows. But we forgot how to grow and be Indian, how to be native. So this is that process we got to talk about is decolonization before we even get to talk about connecting to the fire. Because we teach our children that fire is special. It's a spirit. It's a spirit that gives, but it also takes too. But the ancestors, everything was fire. And we know that. We're reading it in third-party perspective of a white man's tale. John Peabody Harrington, Alfred Kroeber, Mulligan. And we're translating it now and trying to find a spiritual connection to those stories that were only glimpses of history from Jose Guzman, a Yokut who married Angela Colos, our Suyakma. and found love within the Ohlone villages of the Pleasanton area, Alisal, along the waters where the rivers where the salmon used to come. And now we gotta do it all back again. We're trying to bring them back, bring those spirits back. Let the salmon know the agreement, because they continue. That's why they call them steelheads. They continue to run their head through the dam. They don't stop. It's the agreement because they got to come down the stream. They got to keep swimming. It's endurance. That's the spirit of us, is that spirit of that salmon. And that's every day, waking up every day, fighting to live, fighting to breathe, fighting to remember that ancient memory of Muwekma Ohlone people. And so, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, the maneuvering and adapting to the assimilations of warfare and continuing, but with unity, with our red nations who've helped us. Different, Mexica, Zapotecs, Miwok, Nisanons, our Pomos, our Wailaki, our Yuki, or all of our northern roundhouse families, because we're roundhouse peoples. And that's where we found the healing. Call upon the South to Kuksu. Call upon our spirits to help us remember these things, and invoke the ancestors to continue to help come back and bring back that prayer. That's every day, waking up, remembering that. That's what has to be done, just like how everybody wakes up and has to provide for their family. Same thing. Same, waking up with that same memory to continue to do something good for your family. And that's why it's important for everybody in this room, to remember, what you came back as a spirit born flesh to do, to continuing to help bring change for the children, because we all have a problem right now. There's bombs being blown on the other side of the earth right now, our Mother Earth. You don't think that effect's going to come back this way? We're talking about global warming. You're watching an extinction right now on the back of our ocean right here, the coral reefs. You're talking about invasive species. You're talking about genocide to an animal, the beaver, all those things that we're talking about, freshwater otter, the things that we're trying to help come back and nurture. But what do we do? You know what I mean? That's what we're here to do, is figure it out, solutions right now. This is a big area of brains, and I'm not going to disregard the power in this room. You know what I mean? So let's build together and understand what we're truly trying to do together, and that's heal. Because there's been a lot of damage that has been done to our people, all of our people here. And it's going to affect your children's children's children. Just remember those things, because that's kind of what it's about. What is hard about it. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard being Native. You know what I mean? When they're told they cut your hair, put you in a boarding school, made you worship a foreign ideology of a man from Palestine, forced on us, enslaving us, indoctrinating us, castrating us. And once again, I said that spiritually, removing the connection. That's all we're trying to do, is connect. And so, and I think that's important.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you for sharing these messages, these values, the importance of connections. And I'll pose a question for a couple of the panelists. What can we do more of? What can the tribe, what could the community of partners here do more of to help engage with the youth and the next generation in this type of work? And anyone who'd like to answer, well, welcome passing the microphone to.
Did I end up with a microphone for a reason? Well, I think for me it comes back to connection, to relationship, to reciprocity. I hear this word decolonize a lot, and I'm on board 100%. Yeah, let's decolonize. But let's go further than that. Let's re-indigenize, because that's what we really need. When people get disconnected from place, so we are all place-based people. When people get disconnected from place, it causes harm to everyone. causes harm to everything in that place, everyone in that place, all our relatives. And so that is kind of where I come at it from. My job, not only my job, my elders call it our moral obligation or our sacred obligation, is to take care of Mother Earth. And that's not just a job for me. That is my purpose for being on this planet. And I think where the youth come in is we need to help our children remember that, because that's not something we've lost. But it's not gone. And so if we're teaching our youth, you are connected. The disconnection comes later. We have learned that. Learned our connection. So that is the truth. If we teach children the truth, you are connected. You are the land. You treat things a lot differently when you know that truth. And so what I try to do in some of my programs, whether it's youth or adults, because we all are harmed from disconnection. And if you think about people who are guests, who are newcomers to this place, you're disconnected twice. You're disconnected from your homeland, connection to this place. If you're not connecting with the land and you're not connecting with the indigenous people of the place, you're disconnected twice. You're twice as harmed. So it heals us all to reconnect. So that's what I try to bring to my programs, and that's what I try to bring to all ages, because we all need that connection. And so I bring a little bit of that. The traditional knowledge is that we're all related, right? This is something we all hear. It's become kind of a cliche, all my relations, but it's the truth. And so I teach people to connect, to acknowledge your relation, even to our relatives with roots, to our relatives with 4 legs, and that you can make that a real thing. And that's not something, it doesn't cost you anything. You can all have that. And that's simple. Start by, I'm going to tell you something you can all do today. Go introduce yourself to one of our relatives. Go have a conversation with the tree. I know some of you are going, that's crazy. It doesn't have to be out loud. It doesn't have to look like you're talking to the tree, but go talk to the tree. And just see how you feel after. And that's something that, like I said, I tell that to all ages, but I think that is the first step, is we have to reconnect.
One thing that comes to mind for community members and allies seeking to show support and allegiance, or I guess just general support, is simply just to go out into your community and volunteer in any capacity. And I would like to really highlight our native plant program and our volunteer corps. Over the past several years, they've really come together on such a regular and routine basis of implementing thousands of seeds, native seeds, from a full propagation, start to finish process into Año Nuevo State Park as part of our revitalization efforts. So that has just stunned me for years, just seeing how the community has truly come together to support us, to support themselves, and this overall vision, because it is much greater than us as an individual. If we want to restore Mother Earth, we all need to come together. It cannot be on the backs of individuals. We all have to come together as a community. So I truly think that's not an easy solution, but it is a solution. And for those who do not have the means of volunteering, you could also donate to our Mutsun youth group. We have a GoFundMe, so that's another way as well. But seriously, with the Mutsun youth group, it's a way that our youth is able to reconnect with their cousins who they may have not known before, who might just be a few blocks down the road for whatever reason they don't know yet. So we bring them from the Central Valley, from SoCal, from NorCal, from different states even, to come sometimes to camp, sometimes for cultural activities, sometimes for hiking. And we try to partner that as well with our summer internship programs, where we invite many of our youth to come out for a week-long summer camp and 3-week to 4-week archaeological internships. So that is kind of one way that I think the community members can continue to support us, because without these years and effortless just time after time and hours, we really would not be where we are as a tribal community. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to pause here, and we'll conclude with one last question. And we want to open the time for the audience to be able to ask a couple of questions as well. So our last concluding question is, what gives you hope for the future of conservation and land stewardship? And Johnathan, you have the mic, so you can answer that one.
What gives me hope? All of you here, and all of the willingness, sitting at the booth, and all the people that, came up to us and are interested in working for tribes or volunteering for tribes, just basically doing anything for us. And, it's really appreciated, and we need more of it. We need more outreach. We need more people like you guys who are interested and willing to learn and willing to give your time to us and, really put that effort in, Yeah,